Have you ever found yourself absolutely sick and tired of studying for hour after hour for algebra and trig when it seems like just the very next day you forget everything you thought you learned? Or you have a quiz or you see something new in class and it seems like yet another thing to add to the endless list of disjointed, unrelated formulas, and it just seems like this impossible to crack puzzle or it's too big. Well, if that's you, then this video is for you because what if there were a way to learn more in 30 minutes than you're used to learning in 3 hours? And not only that, but what if you had a system to take advantage of your brain's natural patterns of memory and forgetting so that you could review just a tiny percentage of all of your flashcards each day and have perfect recall of all of the information for life? Now, if that sounds like a fantasy, if that sounds too good to be true, I'm telling you, I actually learned this system, part of this system, from a medical doctor who used the same system to go from a C student to an A plus student. He got literally the top score in every test through medical school, his entire career. And I used a modification, my own modification of this system, to get my bachelor's degree in 6 months, 4-year degree in 6 months. Now, that was a competency based program, and I did have a few transfer credits. I had a significant amount of transfer credits, but I would say 3/4 of the degree I did in that 6 months, and I got 2 awards for excellence. So it was quality work. And that's not to brag, it's not any special accomplishment. I believe anyone could do it if they just set out the time and dedicated themselves. And that's really what this video is all about. Is I want to introduce you to a system of approaching your math learning journey that uses the way your brain naturally works instead of beating your head against the wall trying to do inefficient things like reading and rereading or highlighting or taking notes. That's all garbage. None of that works. What you need to do is you need to have a system of extracting the useful information, making links to information you already know, and forgetting the rest. And with the information you have identified as important, you need a system for actively recalling, about putting your brain on an effort-based mission. It's in controlled bursts, so it's not overwhelming, but an effort-based mission to find the information and reconstruct it on your own. And a few minutes of that, it literally is better than hours of the other way that everyone learns in school for some reason. So I want to introduce you to 3 pieces of this system so that by the end of this video, you actually have something to go forth and conquer with, okay? So here we go. Okay, so step 1, you need a good system of retrieval practice. And here's what I mean. This is the OpenStax textbook for algebra and trigonometry. It's open source, so I can show you all this. Anyone can log in and teach or learn it for free. And you'll see the way the textbooks are typically done, you have learning objectives in the front. So this chapter has all these learning objectives. And so what you need is, so instead of like reading and then you get distracted because your dog just did something cute, or you got a notification that popped up on Facebook or TikTok, and oh, wait, what did I just read? And having to reread it. You need a system that allows you to go through this in focused chunks and take this information that is important, that you understand, and move it to flashcards. So you need a system of flashcards. Now, this is a free app called Anki. Anki, anyone can use this. What I really recommend is I Do Recall. Let me bring that up. So this is idorecall.com, and this was created by the same medical doctor I mentioned that had the flashcard system. And this is a software that will learn you. This is endorsed by Dr. Barbara Oakley, who's another leader in the learning space. And everything here, I don't get a kickback for this. I don't have any affiliation with him, David Handel, professionally. But what it'll allow you to do is when you're going through your textbook, it will allow you to extract the relevant information. You put it onto a flashcard. Okay, so you put it onto a flashcard. The numbers we use for counting and enumerating items are called the natural numbers, right? Oh, good, I got it. And then you'll notice here, this is where it's really important. And I Do Recall has their own algorithm for this. But you see these labels, again, hard, good, easy, and you'll see day values next to them. So what those day values do is they tell the app when to show you this information again. So you can imagine if it's 26 days, like you saw, if this was easy for me, which it was, this is something I've practiced a lot, you'll see it's 26 days before I have to review it again. And this is how you can build a flashcard library of hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of flashcards, you can remember, you can have perfect recall of your entire academic journey over the course of your entire life because you only ever have to practice a small number of that library at any given time to keep the memories fresh. We're talking about an investment of time that's literally 5, 10, if you're a total rock star on the top end, maybe 15 minutes of focused effort a day to keep those memories fresh, maybe. And 15 minutes a day, if you're a committed student, that's nothing. That's way better than the hours pulling your hair out. Of course, I don't have any left to pull out, but pulling it out at the student center or whatever else over and over trying to remember these things and just feeling frustrated. Why not take the easy way? Why not use the way your brain naturally works? You know, you don't have to paddle the boat. You can hoist the sail and take advantage of the wind. Okay, this is the intelligent way to get ahead. So that's piece number one of the system is learn to use retrieval practice, spaced repetition, and flashcards. And here is piece number two. Okay, piece number two of this system is pattern recognition. Our brains are incredible pattern recognition machines, and there are three basic patterns that make mathematical calculation much easier, much more clear, much more natural, and much less likely to make errors. Number one is learn to calculate left to right. For whatever reason, we read left to right, we write left to right, but we teach our children to calculate right to left. We start swimming upstream. And it's subtle, but this, I believe, is the first point of confusion. So if you have 13, or you know what, here, we'll do 3 digits to make it really obvious, okay? If you have 135 times 146, well, we teach calculation right to left. But in fact, it's much better to go left to right, especially when if it's a word problem or it's a problem that requires any kind of actual problem solving and thinking outside of the operation. You always want the ability to start with the most significant figures. So here, if I work left to right and I use this pattern vertically and crosswise, which is very natural for my brain, instead of working right to left and writing all the zeros and layer after layer, so, you know, this could take up an entire page if your writing is big enough, I'm just going to move left to right. 1 counted one time is 1. Then I have 4 plus 3 is 7. Then I have 6. See, 1 times 6 is 6, 5, and 12. Well, 11 and 12 is 23. Then I would have 18 and 20, which must be 38. And then here I have 30. Now I can add up my carries, and you see it's very efficient. And not only is it efficient, but once I learn this vertically and crosswise pattern, it extends directly to algebra. So if I want to divide, I can take that pattern of multiplication I just did and reverse it. Or if I want to go over to algebra, I don't need to teach FOIL, first, outer, inner, last, or any of those acronyms or patterns. Here, I just have the same pattern. It works the same way. If I want to multiply these two terms, x squared vertically, crosswise, 3x plus 2x is 5x, plus 6 on the right. You see, and that works also with algebraic division. If I started with x squared plus 5x plus 6, and I had x plus 2, I could divide x into the first term and 2 into the last term and get x plus 3. It also helps me square numbers. There's a modification, or I should say, how would you say that? There is an extension of vertically and crosswise called the duplex. So if I wanted to square a number like 37, I start on the left and move right. I square 3 for 9. I multiply 3 times 7, which is 21, and double for 42. And then I square 7 on the right. Now, all I'm doing mentally is taking exactly what I did vertically and crosswise, just with mirror numbers. Because it's 37 that I'm multiplying by, I can follow kind of a shortcut algorithm. But once I add up my carries, you'll see this is 37 squared. Here we would have 13, so 1369. 1369 is 37 squared. And because it's the same pattern, because I don't have to change what I'm doing as I move from one operation to the other, it is massively more clear what to do in any given situation. My brain doesn't have to change gears. I can move from multiplication to division, from arithmetic to algebra, from algebra to calculus. There are many calculus applications of vertically and crosswise that massively simplify all kinds of UV substitution, differential equations. And the last pattern, it's not the only sutra. They call them sutras, these little patterns. It's not the only one. The Vedic system has 16 of these major ones. But these are the top 3 that I see in tutoring people make the biggest difference immediately. So the last one is proportion. So let's say I have a problem like 34 times 16. Well, I might notice that 34 cut in half is 17. And now I can use base multiplication to do this easily and then simply double the product because 17 is half of 34. If I solve this problem and double the product, I will get the answer to this problem. And so that ability to see proportion everywhere you look in math, especially in geometry, when you're talking about analytic geometry and angles and things like that, the ability to double and cut in half makes everything much easier. So step one was we need a system of retrieval practice, spaced repetition, and recall to make our study time efficient and to make sure that our recall ability goes close to 100%. Piece two is this, pattern recognition. We need to leverage the patterns that make sense to our brain naturally. Instead of this hodgepodge in the West, we have just an endless connection of what seem on the surface to many students like disjointed techniques. They don't seem connected to the others. But when you learn the Vedic system, all of it's just a few patterns and it connects the entire world of mathematics as far as your brain is concerned. Because the patterns that naturally make sense to your brain can be leveraged to make sense of the numbers. So that's number two. In the final system, number three, part three of our system is managing your self-talk and your internal mental and emotional state. This is the piece of the puzzle that I don't see anyone talking about or addressing, but arguably is the most critical. So most people don't have a good strategy when they make mistakes, when they're facing confusion or frustration, which is inevitable in mathematics, because what you're learning when you learn new math is you are learning information that your brain has no experience with. And because it has no experience with it, you're going to feel the feelings of frustration and confusion. You can't get the dopamine hit you want for things happening the way you want because you haven't made those connections yet. But I'm going to argue making mistakes, confusion, and frustration are the first sign that you are about to become completely dominant at math. And here's why. When I was in my early 20s, I came back from a deployment as a young Marine. I was in Kuwait. I was not involved in any kind of terrible combat operations or whatever else. But there were sleep issues, and there were a couple of missions I went on that did not go well for me. And so I came back with a good amount of anxiety, and I had this problem. So part of my recovery process from that was I learned that neurologically, as far as your nervous system is concerned, the pathways for excitement and fear are indistinguishable. What makes the difference is how you talk to yourself and how you define it. It's the mental frame you put around these feelings you're having. And that was extremely impactful for me. And so I started doing a lot of research into all kinds of top performers. There's this great book called Relax and Win by Bud Winter. That's probably my favorite. But the idea is this, is that if you want to perform with excellence in anything in life, you have to have a system to manage how you talk to yourself and how you manage your states, your emotional and mental states. And what I want to suggest to you is that instead of thinking when you're making mistakes that says something bad about you, it does not, okay? Your performance in any one moment does not define you as a person. It is how you react to that or how you understand it. The next step you take, right? To use the Batman cliche, it's not about how many times you get knocked down, it's whether you stand up again. So I want to suggest that mistakes are a sign that you are on the precipice of learning something amazingly powerful and new that for you will give you great leverage to live a better life. Because that's what new knowledge is, right? It is leverage. Knowledge is power. Wisdom is power. And confusion and frustration. So these are the emotional and mental states we enter when we hit a wall, right? I don't understand. I'm going to suggest that you reframe confusion and frustration as the first signs that your brain is very, very actively engaged in the process of granting you incredible power you've never had before. Now, when you look at it like that, it's almost like you are on the hunt to become confused and frustrated as quickly as you can, because you know all you need to do is keep engaging, oscillate between focused work and diffuse work. So I'm going to spend 25 minutes with a Pomodoro timer, and I'm going to put all of my attention, I'm going to soak my attention into this challenge. I'm going to turn off notifications for Facebook. I'm going to turn off the TV. If you need music to study, that's fine. But you understand what I'm saying. Nothing that will actively take your attention out. These are 20 minutes or 25 minutes where you are lasered in. And it does not matter. In fact, it almost serves you better. If those lasered in moments are absolutely rife with frustration and confusion, you're going to smile because you know that means if you feel those feelings, it's almost like a chemical reaction. It is proof positive that something big is happening. And all you have to do is stay hungry for this knowledge through the confusion and frustration, and then drop it. Leave it alone. Go do something else. When that timer goes off and your Pomodoro timer goes off, you go do something else for 10 or 15 minutes and come back. Now, you do this 2 or 3 times a day, 2 or 3 Pomodoros a day, and you do this for 2 or 3 weeks, you will be absolutely amazed at what you can do, how much ground you can cover. And when you can enter that mindset, when you are not concerned, and in fact, when confusion and frustration are like your superpowers to get new knowledge, what can stop you? What can stop you from going as far as you want to go? Because those are the obstacles that typically knock people off the horse. So if you understand that no one is anything all the time, you are not bad at math. You're not what am I trying to say? It's not that you're not a math person. Those are ideas. And we never want to confuse the stability of our ideas with the stability of the world. The world is not stable. In fact, it is just possibilities everywhere you look, so long as you have the right mindset. So those are the 3 pieces of my system. My students are having absolutely phenomenal success. And if this sounds like something you're interested in, if you would like help making this system yours and making it come to life for you, right now I'm offering a 13-week coaching program. So if you're interested in that, for me to teach you one-on-one, comment coach on this video, and I will give you every tool I have. And by the end of that 13 weeks, it's a 13-week program, you will have everything you need to go far and above what you thought was possible. I guarantee it. So comment coach. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any feedback for me, any thoughts, I love to hear from you all in the comments. And last, I always want to say, when I remember to, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share this Vedic math knowledge with you and this philosophy with you. It is so meaningful to me, and I really, really can't say how much it means to have the opportunity to share this with people and enrich people's lives. So thank you, and best to you. I will see you on the next one.